Hello, Jack McDowell here, Black Jack McDowell, and you're watching the Sports Circus, which is totally cool. So you have a great time watching. Have some fun.
Stretch. You can put it on the board. Yes. Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Today's show is brought to you by uppercutchops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks. The best of all, of course, those cowboy cut and tomahawk cut massive ribeyes. All USDA Prime, best in the business, best I've ever had. Probably be the best you've ever had as well. Give them a call at 714-948-0100. That's 714-948-0100. Or check them out at uppercutchops.com. Uppercutchops.com. What a great name. It's a great name for a boxer. And we are here with a very special guest. And of course, we've had you on before. But John, we're going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself once again.
Hi, I'm John Stockton, formerly of the Utah Jazz in the NBA.
All right. Be the great John Stockton. That's the Hall of Famer from the NBA and also from the college ranks. And also, you know, I hear this guy knows how to guard people pretty well. I don't know. You know, I'm about the same height, and I would be embarrassed to even come near a basketball court with this guy. But, John, welcome to the show. You've been here before. We're not here to really talk about what you and I would do on a court because that would be a complete embarrassment. But what I want everybody first to know, in case they've been living under a rock for the last 20-odd years, let me just run over this real quick, folks. Yes, 84 to 2003 Utah Jazz. Here we go, folks. In case you don't know about this guy, here's a quick rundown. 10-time All-Star. Yes, 10-time NBA All-Star. NBA All-Star Game MVP. 2-time All-Star NBA First Team. 6-time NBA Second Team. 3-time NBA Third Team. 5-time NBA All-Defensive Second Team, 9-time assist leader, 2-time steal leader, NBA anniversary team, 50th anniversary, 75th anniversary, number 12, the great number 12, retired by the Utah Jazz, and of course, the West Coast Athletic Conference Player of the Year, 2-time first team All West Coast Conference, number 12, retired, also by Gonzaga, for all those Bulldogs, 19,711 points, 15,806 assists, crazy stuff, folks. 3,265 steals, and on and on and on and on we go. So in case you don't know, this guy was, really good in basketball, in case you're keeping score. But guess what? John, you've done all those things. What's going on today in your world?
Well, I'm pretty busy right now. I've been engaged with a group called Voices for Medical Freedom, along with Ken Rutgers and Mike Fisher, and we're just a few old retired athletes that are trying to call attention to that we have rights to the autonomy of our own bodies, and we need to stand up for those rights, especially in light of the this COVID generation where we were forced onto shots and masks and testing, et cetera. So it's just trying to get people to understand their rights and understand what you're up against, because it's a big deal. It's a lot of people trying to take those rights away from you permanently.
You know, John, what I look at with this, essentially it's a lack of freedom at this point, where people are forced to do things seemingly that they shouldn't have to do, which seems to be, for example, a violation of the Nuremberg Code. Right? I don't know. What do you think about that? Is that reality, that it is a violation of the Nuremberg Code?
Well, absolutely. There's a number of things from the Nuremberg Code that, first of all, informed consent, which has been blown out the window. Informed consent means they have to give you written proof of what's in any medication that you take, as well as any potential side effects, et cetera. And then you're allowed to have consent whether you choose to do it or not. That's just one part of it. You're allowed to have choices over your own body. They call them exemptions. So personal exemption, you don't have to take the shot for personal reasons, religious for religious reasons, or medical for medical reasons. But really, at the end of the day, as you look at it, you shouldn't have to take any for any reason. We have the right to our own body, and that was kind of guaranteed by the Nuremberg Code due to the testing that went on in the Nazi regime.
I think you're right about that, and if there's obviously a great amount of information on that as well, too. But John, what's confusing to me and to many other people is that they feel that their employers can hold it over their heads, that you have to do this, otherwise you're going to be fired. And we've seen this with millions and millions of people, not only in professional sports, but we've seen it in day-to-day life. I'd like to know why employers feel they can violate the law as I see it. I have a law degree, and it seems to me that they're violating the law. You can't force somebody to take something that has not been approved. That seems to be fair and reasonable, correct?
That's kind of the absurdity of this whole thing, Sal, is that it's ridiculous to think that you can force a drug, an injection on an employee for a reason in this country, especially when we fight constantly. Since my entire life, we've been fighting that nobody has the right, for medical reasons, for race, for religion, for whatever reason you can make up, to deny you opportunities to work. And all of a sudden, because of fear and because, some people in the lab coat way up high, like, Anthony Fauci, step in and say that this is a terrible thing that everybody, grandma's going to die from, that you get to impose these type of things on individuals. And it's absolutely wrong. It's un-American. And again, I'm not sure a lot of young people realize it.
That's the part that's really confusing, John, is that people have this nebulous view of the law. But, here's the one thing we know. People generally know that you cannot go into a store and buy alcohol till you're 21 and 18 in some states. There are certain things that they know about the law. They know speeding. They know driving laws. But what they don't know are things like this, which are, in my opinion, they're absolutely paramount to the progression of American society. How do you not know something as simple? And this is maybe something they should be teaching in civics. This is the problem that I have.
Well, I'm sure a lot of it does go to school, and what we're starting to teach in school instead of history, it's social studies. And, there's been a long-term erosion of the very things that we believed in, that our parents believed in, our grandparents believed in, and had to fight for. Basically, our generation and my kids' generation and their kids' generation have never had to step up to the plate and go fight for freedom anywhere.
Well, and that is a really big problem. I want you to stay with that for a minute. Expand on the idea of fighting for freedom. What does that mean in today's time?
Well, where you haven't had a choice, you get called into duty as a soldier, and you have to go fight for whether it's our freedom or freedom for somebody else. I think when you do that, when you put your life on the line to do it, you have a little bit of, you're not going to give up that freedom again anytime soon. You're not going to, if you're fighting for it, you're not going to treat it lightly. Well, I know I didn't have to go to war. The draft was long gone. We had to sign up for the draft. I don't think the kids have to sign up at all anymore, because military is entirely voluntary. So I don't know, in this world where we're told that you get free stuff for not working. You get told not to. It's that hard work is wrong. How dare somebody put you through hard work? And when you have core beliefs like that, I think it's hard to see that you need to fight for your freedom. You're getting stuff for free.
Yeah, and a lot of people are stuck on that idea of getting things for free. And by the way, folks, in case you're just tuning in, we're here with the great John Stockton here on the Sports Circus. You can catch, of course, on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, all of our independent affiliates as well, plus Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Wow Cable Television, and Hotel Television in, well, I don't know, about 650,000 rooms across America, gaining about 4 million impressions per hour. So, folks, John and I are talking about choices. What does it take for the public to realize that they actually have a choice? And John, do you believe that if the public, from a work standpoint, let's just say you happen to be a professional athlete, and let's just say there's a mandate for all these people to take some kind of medical prescription, whatever that may be, right? Which we have seen quite a bit of. And in Canada, for example, you have to do this no matter what. Otherwise, you cannot play over there in your particular sport. We saw this in baseball and basketball and hockey. I don't know about the Canadian Football League, but what do you think about the idea that if the players just decided to say, nah, we're not going to do this, that would mean there would be no more games in Canada? At least we know that. And take about 30 seconds to answer this before we go to break real quick.
Well, we're not allowing Novak Djokovic to come in the United States and play. I mean, to this day, well, we know this the shots are worthless. They don't prevent illness, and they don't prevent you from getting it or spreading it. And they're not letting this guy, he's like Muhammad Ali right now. He's giving up the prime of his career to stand on his convictions, and he's being basically not allowed in to play tennis. So it's not just Canada, but, as an athlete, you want to play more than anything. And so when somebody says you got to do this to play, boy, it's a tempting proposition. But really, how is that any different than a guy that has to put food on his table, or a gal that's got to put food on the table for his family or her family? You feel like you have no choices. You feel like it's an absolute, you have to do it, but you don't.
Yeah.
It's against the law to demand it that way.
Buddy, I got to tell you are spot on with that. And when we come back from break, I want to talk a little bit more about choices and player safety and also safety for the masses. And folks, in case you haven't read about that, here's a wonderful book for you to check out. I'm going to put it right next to the camera so everybody can see it. Take a look at the title and take a look at who it's written by. And that is someone that knows quite a bit about safety for people. Back here in just a few minutes with John Stockton. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this one.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's AAMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances. Maybe somebody made you take a shot that you didn't want to and you need a lawyer. Contact Legal Shield. Maybe they can help. 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or check them out online at nocourt.us. That's www.nocourt.us. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in and watching on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. From Honolulu, that would be KHKA, CBS 1500, all the way over to WDJY in Atlanta, 99.1 FM, WAUD in Auburn, Alabama, and a whole bunch of others. Just want to name off a few because we can. Also, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Wow Cable, Hotel Television, and every metered market by Nielsen in America. That's 210 of those, by the way. Here with the great John Stockton. That's the Hall of Famer, John Stockton. And John and I are talking about player safety in this segment. And John, I want to ask you what your thoughts are on the recent CDC and FDA identify preliminarily COVID-19 vaccine safety. What does that mean to you? So it's the CDC and FDA identify preliminary COVID-19 vaccine safety. What does that mean for the players out there, just specifically for professional sports?
I have no idea what the CDC is up to. I mean, they've let out information over time, and you mentioned bars earlier, and bars is historically about 1% of actual. Who knows what it is now? But I think for athletes, it's a scary time because they continue to be mandated in some places, and our bodies are our vessel. They're how we do everything. They're how we earn our living. There's how we play our sports, and we should have complete say over what goes into it and what doesn't, and how players associations around the world and advocates for these athletes, parents of teenage athletes, why everybody isn't standing up saying no more. No athletes are getting unless they completely consent and know all the risks. It's kind of one of those crazy things you can't believe is happening in America, frankly.
Well, you know, the thing that the CDC says on their site, quote, transparency and vaccine safety are top priorities for the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the FDA, close quote. What the heck does that mean?
Yeah, you can't ever figure out what that means. I know they're not living up to their job. They have a requirement to seek our safety, to protect our safety, and yet they're actually stakeholders in the financial parts of the vaccine. So they own or are in party to the people making the money on it. So there's a huge conflict of interest, and both of the CDC and the FDA, huge conflict of interest. And so they're any comment they made, we kind of have to use it because I think some people still rely on it and use it against them. When they say there's 1,000 injuries, you go, look, even the CDC says there's 1,000 injuries. It isn't because they know better. They do, but it's not because they're blasting it.
Well, you know, here's something interesting. The Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, which is the VAERS website. Now, that is a Center for Disease Control website, Center for Disease Control. So that's their site as of January 6th. Of course, we won't timestamp this because we'll be able to play this again, right? For all those people that missed the episode. There have been 2,552,104 reports of incidents, I put in air quotes, of incidents apparently related to COVID, as reported on that CDC-driven website. And even, here's the funny thing. You think about this, across the globe, people have paid attention to this. As you said, John, that's what, 1%, maybe 1 to 10% of the actual number? Because I think there's a stat that actually says that on their website. What do you think?
Well, their attribution has been a little sketchy from the get-go. I mean, when they were claiming that there was this horrible pandemic and that millions of people are dying, particularly in 2020, the data was manipulated. So in hospitals, they were getting paid more if they could declare somebody that had COVID as their death. They'd get 20 grand more, 19 grand, whatever the number is, to claim it as such. And so if you look at the stats for 2020, flu disappeared. That's 1 million deaths or around 1 million deaths a year. Pneumonia disappeared. There were no deaths from pneumonia. And all of a sudden, those categories emptied into nothing, but they attributed them all to COVID. COVID looks like this horrible, terrible, fearful disease, and it sets us all on this tangent that we've been on for a couple of years now.
But John, how did the flu take a vacation? Did it just say, I'm going to pack up and I'm going to go on vacation for, I don't know, a year? I mean, is that really what happened here? I don't know, because it sure seems to me that the flu went away and then something else took its place. How does that work?
You got me, Sal. I mean, maybe they'll claim that the flu shot saved us.
Oh, right.
You know,
but wait.
Yeah.
I believe the flu shot, in my opinion, yes, folks, I can say this in my opinion, I believe the flu shot will have those same elements conveniently inserted because people are now scared of that jab. And so they say now, hey, wait a minute. Don't worry, the flu shot is safe. Let's go ahead and run out and get your flu shots. I think for some reason that is going to be the case, and I don't think that's beyond a reasonable doubt. It just, to me, in my opinion, it seems very possible. What do you think?
It's the same formula. You scare everybody into grandma's going to die, your children are going to die, and so you need this intervention, this medical intervention, and you can't live without it. And again, sometimes they're mandated, but the flu shot's not good. Most of them, unless you know how to work the system, have thimerosal in it, which is mercury. They also have aluminum in it, formaldehyde, number of antibiotics, because it's not a clean process. And then they just pick the disease. They pick that particular virus. There's thousands of viruses out there, flu viruses. They close their eyes, they pick one or two, and they say, this is what it's going to save you from. It doesn't. And yet people line up every year for these things to keep you safe. And I've had firsthand experience with my own family where my dad's gone into sepsis 3 years in a row following a flu shot. It makes you wonder. So the day that chemicals become more healthy for us than trying to live right, get out in the sunshine, eat properly, is the day that I've got it all wrong.
Yeah, and even the people of Ireland, they have this coronavirus COVID-19 alert, and they say to all who have come forward to receive their COVID-19 vaccination, I'm quoting from Ireland here, thank you for playing your part in keeping our community safe. Rare side effects have now come to our attention. They include headaches, menstrual irregularities, Bell's palsy, blood clots, heart attacks, strokes, and sudden death. Now, this is the people of Ireland. We're talking a government-driven message, so to say, right? And now we have a bigger issue. Let's talk about the 1,653 athletic cardiac arrests or serious issues as noted by goodsciencing.com, plus the 1,148 dead since those shots in the first place. Again, goodsciencing.com. Folks, you want to check your source? Check their source. They have all the science on it. And John, think about this. At each of the 1,653, there is said to be a report showing the date, the basic data on all the illnesses, age, name, status, and links to each story. Check it out for yourself, folks. If you don't believe it, the data appears to be credible and well documented. John, give me your thoughts on that.
Well, you can check that out. Ed Dowd wrote a book called Cause Unknown. It's a phenomenal book. Doesn't take you long to read, and it's phenomenal. It gives you all that data and explains it as well. So the data was without question out there, but it's really the tip of the iceberg too when you think about it. It's deaths are easy to track. All-cause mortality is a balancer. You have no way to attribute it one way or another, and all-cause mortality is up 40% from ever. So including war times, a 10% increase would be considered darn near catastrophic, and that's only happened during war times. We're at 40% all-cause mortality since the rollout. So there's some real reasons to be concerned about it, and I don't know what you do. I don't know what evidence people would need to start saying, look, there needs to be some accountability and some attention put to this.
Well, and think about this. Whether you're playing professional sports as you did for years, or you're just the average Joe or Josephine, well, guess what? Everybody's lives will be affected from this. Everybody. Whether you took the shot, whether you didn't take the shot, doesn't matter, because the fact is, if you're watching it on TV, now you're seeing people drop off on television. It's happening. We saw a player from the National Football League collapse for whatever reason. But what we did see was that on primetime television, and in our last minute of the segment here, John, that looked eerily familiar to the very first images that were shown coming out of China, in the way that gentleman fell down, etc. Because it didn't look like the result of any big play. It looked like a regular football play. So when we come back from break, I want to talk about the impact of all of these shots and all the seemingly misinformation and disinformation that's floating around out there, because a lot of people are very, very confused. And John, believe me, I was one of those myself. I started reading. I read a wonderful book here that gave me a lot of clarity. And so everybody, if you could see that book right there, check it out. And if you can't see it, go back to the video and watch the video, because believe me, it is legit. We're going to be back here with the great John Stockton in just a few moments. Lots more to come. Again, folks, you don't want to miss this one. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-476-6087. 800-476-6087. 800-476-6087. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details. Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
Hey everybody, this is Barry Katz from the Industry Standard Podcast, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friend, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who put a really good book out. You may want to check him out at the childrenshealthdefense.org, a great organization. And folks, this is the defender of freedom. He's doing it all. He's done it all. Writing books. Doesn't have to advertise. Still sells millions of copies of them. Why? Because he speaks the truth in those books. Check him out, childrenshealthdefense.org, and that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Nice round of applause for him. And of course, he's been on the show here, and he will be back on the show. And welcome back to everybody watching on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports independent affiliates from coast to coast, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Charter, Time Warner, Frontier, Wow Cable Television, plus Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast, gaining about 4 million impressions per hour. Back here with the great John Stockton. John and I are talking about safety when it comes to players, and we were just going over a report, and that report, John, came out of goodsciencing.com, showing 1,148 dead since taking those shots, and 1,653 athletes having cardiac arrest or serious issues. And again, that was by goodsciencing.com. Mind you, these are only athletes. Never mind the over 2.5 million reported on the VAERS website, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System website. And that, of course, is a Center for Disease Control and Prevention website. John, about these 1,148 dead, and this is, mind you, about a maybe 6 weeks old, this report out of Good Sciencing. What do you think is going to be the long-term outcome for all those players that had to take shots to play their sport so they can earn their paycheck?
Well, you hope that this too shall pass, right? It makes me sick to think about what the potential is. Clearly, people that are taking more and more shots are finding themselves more and more susceptible to, first of all, COVID. People that are taking all the shots and the boosters are getting COVID over and over and over again, as well as other autoimmune issues. Their diseases are coming back. If they had MS in remission, it's coming back hard. If they had some sort of cancer in remission, it's coming back hard. So all these things go through my head. And I said, gosh, I just hope that as time passes, if we can stop it, that these guys can get through it. But the verdict isn't really good right now. The verdict is that it has dampened and hurt immune systems. Again, it's all only the tip of the iceberg. As we know from previous vaccines, these things cause long-term health problems. Childhood vaccines, for example, prior to 1986, when they got complete liability protection, the chronic illness amongst children was 10%. Now it's well over 50%. So we're seeing this this incredible increase in harm that happens after the fact. So same thing with these athletes. We don't have any idea what it's going to do to them neurologically. We don't know what's going to happen to them reproductively or just in terms of being healthy on a day-to-day basis. It's a big mystery. So hopefully they're seeking out some of these solutions, and hopefully they're seeking it out in more holistic fashion. Well,
let's talk about the general population. The general population, This is what a lot of people don't realize. John, over 2,200 people each day suffer from heart attacks, or 805,000 per year. Imagine the potential increase of that as we move forward in this process. Now, mind you, those are historical numbers. And as you had mentioned, over 40% increase in the, I guess Ed Dowd had talked a little bit about that in his book as well. And I think you have a copy of that book in that bookcase behind you. What do you think the numbers could go to? Let's extrapolate those numbers. And geez, where do you think this might go?
It's scary to think what the numbers is. Is it something that is designed? Because it is designed. Is it something that's designed to get X amount of the population, or is it designed to just kind of see what happens? So athletes are supposedly our most healthy people in society. They're ready. They're aware of their bodies, and they're falling victim to it. What is the normal population doing? And what is, you're finding out with men that have taken the shot, death is one of the worst things that happens. And they're finding out women that neurological issues and Guillain-Barré, paralysis type issues, pain in the extremities, paralysis, palsy, a lot of things are different. Psychological issues, again, reproductive, having babies, stillborn births. I don't know, I'm kind of babbling now, but we don't know. They don't know. And how dare you kind of put this on us when you don't know those answers in advance? It's not for us to know and figure out. They should have known before it was ever implemented on a whole scale frankly, worldwide. They should have known this.
John, it takes, generally speaking, and even Ed Dowd reported that it takes 7 to 10 years typically for clinical trials to actually be completed. And many doctors that I know, I've had doctors on this program talking about that as well. I asked one of them, a neuroscientist, I said, are you going to run out and go take a shot so you can go to watch a football game or something to that effect? You can go back to a previous episode, folks. If you don't believe me, go ahead and listen to it. And that particular doctor said, I'm going to wait till the clinical trials are done before I make a determination. And frankly, I think that would seem to be the best case scenario. Look, if a doctor is telling you this on a national program, it's carried in all different parts of the country, something tells me that they're not going to get on air and they're not going to say something that they truly don't believe is fair and reasonable. And I think that's what we should be asking ourselves. I mean, what are the league policies? What should they be to consider for athletes and player safety? So we go back all the way back to maybe college basketball and professional basketball as you've played for decades. What do you think the league policy ought to be, in your opinion, John, for this?
Well, there's an old adage that wouldn't it be a shame if you or somebody you loved fell victim to a disease that could be prevented by vaccines? Okay, that's a fair statement. But then if you include what can happen if you take these shots, all the side effects that are on their list in their inserts, and you say, are you okay with death? Are you okay with paralysis? Are you okay with MS, with asthma, et cetera? Suddenly that balances out, but you never hear those things publicly. So what should the NBA or the NFL or any other leagues do? Their players associations need to start speaking up and saying, listen, our guys have autonomy over their own bodies. There's nothing, there's no chemicals, there's no process which you should be able to insist upon other than you need to come ready to play and you bring your talents to the field and the court. How a guy goes and preparing to it is his business. Now, of course, there's illegal drugs and things like that. I think that's always worth testing. But as far as this goes, you should have no right to demand anything of any athlete. He should be in command of his own body.
Well, and frankly, we should have the same consideration for everybody instead of trying to potentially, or as some people are saying, well, we're trying to control population and there are too many people. And yet those same people that make those statements are buying up, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of acres of land, as one could easily say, well, hey, maybe we're trying to control the food supply or something like that. You never know. There is so much out there, John. And frankly, I think something is stinky in Happyville because to me, I just see too many things that make me scratch my head. And then, of course, needless to say, we get into how the media seems to be censoring. And it's not just the media. Social media does it too. right? So it doesn't matter whether it's government run or private run. It seems like they could get away with censorship as they so choose. Thoughts?
A lot of thoughts there too. I hear opinions all the time by newscasters. Try not to watch it anymore, and they jade everything. Like they may start a conversation with, well, we know that the vaccines are safe and effective, for example. They'll start it with that, and then they'll bring all these other comments in, but the premise is wrong. We know they're not safe and effective, but they've started it with that. So that kind of starts the narrative, and it starts the censorship. So anything that counters that, it just doesn't make headway, or you're thought of. In fact, I've been accused of it as a misinformation expert, or a lot worse words than that. But it doesn't have to be done behind scenes. Some of it's done right out in plain sight.
Well, the funny thing is, well, actually, it's not funny. They'll say, well, John, you're spreading misinformation. Well, guess what? Apparently, they're saying the same thing to a lot of people, including me. Oh, no, we can't have you talk about that. Oh, no. And we even had somebody in our government recently chastise a very popular news personality on a particular network saying, oh, no, this whole thing is wrong. You can't do that. Why? Because the hard data is coming out. Oh, no, he cherry-picked that data. No, he didn't. That was regular footage from inside this particular government facility in the first place. And so somebody's trying to cover their tracks because they don't want to be caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And I wonder who else is doing that with these things here, because there seems to be quite a bit of that out there right now. John, what do you think, real quick?
Well, it's hard to sit from this seat and start pointing fingers, but we know it takes place. We know that there's guys claiming it's like take the opposite way. I used to call them Professor Wrong Way. If they say do this, you better do the opposite if you want to stay healthy and happy.
Right. All right, folks, we're going to be back here with John Stockton in just a few minutes here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Have you heard of annuities? Are you over the age of 50 and considering buying one in the next 60 days? Do you know how to best secure your financial future with an annuity? Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons. We have for you a free book on maximizing your income in retirement. It's from Silac Insurance, one of the nation's leading financial firms. That's right, it's free. This book reveals little-known truths about annuities in simple-to-understand terms. Get ready to write a number down. This free book unlocks the 5 little-known truths we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. And it's free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. We have 1,000 of these ready to give away today, so please call Silac Insurance right now. 800-495-3652. 800-495-3652. 800-495-3652. That's 800-495-3652.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get annuity do's and don'ts for baby boomers and the annuity rate report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-253-6831. 800-253-6831. 800-253-6831. That's 800-253-6831.
Hey everybody, this is Adam Curry from Candlebox, and you're listening to The Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Remaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which are our podcasts. You can find those on Spotify, iHeart, Apple, Google, Amazon, Audible, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out the partners page at thesportscircus.com. Of course, lots of great partners. One of those is College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events, csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, folks, back here with the great John Stockton, NBA Hall of Famer, College Basketball Hall of Famer, talking a little bit about player safety. And I tell you what, John, I know you had something on your mind. Let's go ahead and go to you right away with that.
on college safety and athlete safety.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think the big push for Gonzaga of late has been that they're going to continue to demand the COVID-19 vaccines and boosters for admission into school, and that's I look across at them and I look across at the athletes that I'm watching. I can't just stay quiet when I know what I know. I know it doesn't prevent disease or prevent anybody from getting it. And the disease caused by the shots is significant. So, you got to give up something. You got to stand for something.
So when it comes to censorship and when it comes to even going to watch a basketball game, I remember you had an issue previously. I think I read about that somewhere where you couldn't even go to a basketball game because of some policy. Has that been resolved? Are you able to go see your basketball games now?
Well, that's what I was alluding to. Yeah, I had my tickets. I've had season tickets since I retired, and then I used to sneak into the gym when I was a kid. So I've been going. I'm a lifer, going to Gonzaga Bulldog basketball games, and because I wouldn't wear a mask because I think they're not healthy and they don't save anybody anything. The school took my tickets away, and that came from the higher ups. It came very friendly from people I knew. They said, "Look, we don't have a choice. What we have to do." So when that all came and went the next year, which is this year, that thing's no longer in place, but their requirement for their students to be vaxxed and boosted is still in place. And so I just felt it was important enough. I'm a little surprised that they can maintain that stance, knowing what we all know now and what's public knowledge now. So I've chosen not to re-up my tickets.
Well, John, it's a private university, is it not?
Yeah, I think that line between private and public gets skewed a little bit more. I know that there's relationships with bigger universities on or around campus now, and I don't really know what impact that is or what impact the state itself has on a private university, but it sure feels like it's significant.
Well, that's the part that confuses me. For 23 years, I've been a recruiter an academic recruiter for Duke University. And I wonder sometimes about some of the state schools, because Duke is a private school, just like Gonzaga is a private school. And I wonder about the policies that the states have versus the privates, because we know even from a privacy standpoint, you cannot, as an outsider, get information necessarily on the student body or contact details or anything from a private university or private college databases. You cannot. It has to be issued from the college or university. But what I don't understand is that they align from this policy of a non-FDA approved experimental drug injection. How do they align with that yet they won't align in other areas. It doesn't make sense to me.
It boggles the mind, frankly. And, you mentioned we've had children that have gone through private colleges, and it's funny, they turn 18 years old and a parent can't get their grades, even though you're paying the check, right? You're writing the tuition bill, and you can't get information on how school's going or whatever. So there's some privacy issues. It's funny, the privacy didn't matter when you took the shots. You're supposed to have privacy of your health information, and it's just the inconsistency in everything. So now they get to know whether you've had COVID, whether you've had the vaccine, whether it's none of their business. Our own personal records are our own business.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, you think about in the leagues, whether it's the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, or Major League Baseball, their health privacy, what about HIPAA laws? Does that even count anymore?
I think it's out the window. I mean, you're clearly demanding their health information as a condition for playing. It's illegal. It's illegal. It's unethical. You can argue it's immoral when it comes to the damage that's caused by these things.
Right. And that's why I was talking about censorship in the last segment, because we think about how the message is being spun. And in your opinion, how should the message be spun?
It shouldn't be spun at all. The message is the message. It's I don't know why spinning is part of the protocol for it. It's the data is it. There should be no experimental stuff. I mean, when you realize that just to use experimental vaccine, they had to squash other treatments. So that's why the limiting and the hiding of ivermectin and hydrochloroquine is such a big deal, because if those two are in place, and understand they've been approved by the FDA for 50 to 80 years, if those two are allowed as a means to solve COVID, then all experimental use products are out the window. They can't sell one of them. They can't use one of them. And so you see how this plan has gotten so huge, and you can see why it got to be as bad as it's gotten.
Yeah, the agenda itself, in my opinion, is awful at best. It's abysmal at worst. And the amount of people that have been affected by this are well into the millions. When is the world's population going to wake up and say, what the heck is going on here? Why do we have to do that? Because the people are bigger than the government, especially in this country, because of the Second Amendment. That's why things take a little bit longer for all you people around the globe that are trying to figure out why the U.S. isn't falling into place, because we have a Second Amendment, which gives us the right to bear arms. So maybe, John, that is the answer, but I'm curious as to why people won't give their thumbs up with this across the board. I think it's because of the Second Amendment. What do you think?
I think it's a big part. I've never been a big gun guy, but I can see the benefit, and I can see why that separates us. It doesn't allow the government to just trample over our rights. Simple as that. But I do think it's coming, Sal. I mean, you look around and you got to be on kind of certain areas and talk to the right people, but you see people protesting all over the world. Just like here, we can't get full information. Just like here, we can't get our words out. They can't either, but it's happening. And you see it in people every day. They're starting to see the difference. And so it kind of just comes down to when they're mad enough about seeing loved ones being stricken with the disease that they should have never been faced with, to where they say enough's enough. And the more people that come on, it's sad, but that's how it's going to happen.
Well, John, there's a couple ways that the public can do a couple things about this. Number one, if the general public says, hey, we're going to limit our time going to these professional sports games. First of all, the owners are going to feel it. We know that, because the gate's going to drop off, the concession's going to drop off, parking's going to drop off. We already know that. But more importantly, if the consumers stop buying the items for all of those advertisers while the programs are being aired on television, then the sponsor money will start to get pulled away and the TV contracts will fall off. That's the one way the general public actually has control. But people are probably saying, generally speaking, well, I'm just one person. How am I going to affect it? Well, if 1 million people say that and they stop drinking a particular product, for example, well, maybe the sales will drop off and the TV contracts are pulled. And now these crazy salaries that these guys are getting, let's face it, a lot of this stuff is going to have to balance at some point, kind of like the real estate market. So I think the public does have some recourse, but I don't think the public really knows that they have any recourse.
They do, and that seems bigger, and I'll get to that in a second. But even if you go to a restaurant, I remember going to a place, I couldn't wait to try this food that they're advertising, and I walked in, they said, "You don't have a mask, we're not serving it." And I walked out, I'll never go back, ever. I have no interest in it, and I think that may be a little stubborn on my part, but it's how it works. Similarly with pro sports, I don't think it has to be only them, but you quit watching it on TV, you quit going to the games, that does impact people. So problem with those guys, I think they have access to other things. So I know gambling's becoming a big part of it. TV in China, people being able to tune in by the billions, kind of artificially inflates what ratings might be otherwise. So I don't know. I think it is a big hill to climb, but at least you're being proactive. At least you'll feel good about yourself by taking steps towards having this world in the position that you think it should be in.
Yeah, I'd like to see people take a little bit more control over what's happening around them instead of just being one of the sheeple that are out there. How about standing up for what's right, whatever that means to them? Stand up for what's right, not what the public thinks you ought to do or what peer pressure says that you should do. The normative way of thinking with that is completely tainted. Folks, God gave you a brain, use the brain. You've got a heart, use your heart. You've got a gut, use your gut. Why use your gut? Because your gut, as I understand it, has the second most amount of neurons to your brain in your body. So when people have that gut feeling, maybe they have butterflies in their stomach. So John, you know a little bit about that from sports, right? Right? So, you're playing a big game, whatever that is, and then your stomach starts to feel a little funny. Well, that's because you have a bunch of neurons in there, folks. It is what it is. John, take 1 minute and wrap that up. And if you want to tell people how to follow you, if you want to as well, go ahead and do that too.
All right, real quickly, I think that when we work for things, we work hard at it, we get satisfaction and happiness out of that. When we pursue a goal, we have happiness, whether we reach it or don't reach it, we have happiness doing it. Basically, we need purpose. And they're trying to talk us out of purpose. Don't work, you'll get free money if you don't. You don't do this, you'll get happiness can't be found there. And so I do think we need to go back to work. We need to have purpose. We need to have purpose to fight for our kids and our grandkids. And that's why through Voices Through Medical Freedom, that's our group that we're trying to get that word out that you're not alone if you're thinking like us. And if you want to share that word and get information, there's a lot of places to do it. And hopefully we'd be one of the many, many, many groups that help you find them.
That's good stuff. That is really good stuff. And I'll tell you what, John, if a lot of people thought in those terms, I think this place would be exactly as it was intended and it was as it was designed in the first place, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. All right, so John, thanks for joining us today here on the Sports Circus, and hopefully we'll have you back soon. Of course, that is the plan, and you're always welcome back whenever you want to come along.
Sal, I've enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
All right, that's great stuff. John, stick around for just a quick second. Folks, make sure you tune in tomorrow in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. We have a surprise for you. You don't want to miss it, and you never know what's going to happen, folks. It's a circus, and we prove it every day. All right, for the great John Stockton, I'm your ringmaster, Sal, and we'll see you next time right here on your favorite station for the Sports Circus. So until next time, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.